Before the sun rises, the desert is a world of shadowed shapes and quiet breath. The horizon glows faintly with silver light, and the dunes lie like sleeping waves, their forms smooth, untouched, infinite. The air holds a cool stillness, a kind of hush that feels older than sound itself. Each grain of sand glimmers faintly under the early glow, tiny mirrors waiting to catch the coming sun. The stars above, slow in their retreat, scatter their last reflections across the endless plain. No wind stirs, only the deep rhythm of silence, alive and vast. Then the light begins its slow climb. It arrives not as a burst, but as a whisper, first pale, then gold, flowing across the dunes like liquid fire. Shadows stretch and twist, and the shapes of the desert wake beneath the touch of dawn. The horizon flares. Sunlight pours over ridges and settles into valleys, revealing textures invisible before. Ripples in the sand like ocean waves frozen mid-motion, the delicate patterns drawn by wind in the night. Each curve holds memory, a story told in shape, erased and written again by time. The heat is not yet present, but the promise of it hums within the light. The air feels weightless, carrying the faint scent of dust and distance. The world seems still, but the desert is never truly still. Even in silence, it shifts. Tiny movements begin. A small beetle, perfectly black against the gold, traces its deliberate path across the dune's slope. Its legs leave precise impressions, brief hieroglyphs that the next wind will erase. A lizard emerges from beneath a stone, its scales catching the first warmth. It pauses, listening to the earth's slow awakening. As the sun climbs higher, the colors deepen. The dunes turn from pale amber to glowing bronze, and the shadows sharpen into rich indigo. The desert transforms into a landscape of light and absence, a place sculpted by air and time. Each dune stands as both monument and motion, formed by wind, yet never fixed. Its edges shimmer, its crest whispers with moving grains, a sound softer than breath, the quietest music of the earth. Far across the valley, a mirage begins to take shape, not illusion, but reflection, the sky painting itself upon the ground. Pools of light shimmer where no water lies, their edges wavering like dreams. The desert reflects heaven, not to deceive, but to remind. Wind begins to rise. It comes softly at first, moving in long, invisible threads. The surface of the sand trembles, and grains begin to lift, turning the air into a slow, golden mist. Each gust reshapes the land, moving mountains one breath at a time. Patterns unfold. The ridges ripple with motion, waves of sand flowing endlessly toward the horizon. The desert is fluid stone, forever changing, forever the same. Light dances upon every curve. From one angle it burns with white fire, from another it cools to shadowed copper. The dunes become living sculptures, each contour carved by the wind's hand. Nothing here is wasted. Every shape, every motion serves beauty. A hawk drifts overhead, its wings stretched wide, its shadow gliding silently across the shifting sands below. For a moment, the desert seems to hold its breath, watching its own reflection move across its face. Then the shadow fades, and the stillness returns. In this light, time loosens. The morning expands, each moment stretching gently into the next. The sun continues its ascent, and the color of the world softens again. White gold now, clear and weightless. Even the horizon seems to shimmer, its line between earth and sky dissolving. At the base of the dunes, dry grasses bow in the wind's slow rhythm. Their thin blades catch sunlight like threads of glass. Nearby, a single flower blooms, small, defiant, bright as flame against the pale expanse. Its petals tremble in the heat, but its roots hold deep in the cool below. Life here is not rare, it is deliberate. The desert holds no waste, only balance. Every shadow cools what must rest. Every light nourishes what must rise. Even stillness has purpose. The light shifts again. The morning turns to brilliance. The sun now rules the sky, casting the dunes into radiant simplicity. Their edges sharpen, their valleys darken. This is the hour of pure light, when every surface gleams and every silence feels alive. From a high ridge, the world extends endlessly, a sea of sand meeting sky, the horizon a thin line of white flame. The eye finds no boundary, only flow. And beneath that vastness, the wind hums its slow, ancient song. This is the language of the desert, motion without hurry, light without limit, silence without emptiness. Every grain of sand, every shifting ripple, every mirage trembling in heat, each is a syllable in that eternal story. The story of transformation, of patience, of beauty carved not by hand, but by time. And as the sun climbs higher, the world begins to shimmer, the air itself alive with heat, the light bending, turning the horizon into living glass. Shapes blur, colors fuse, and the desert becomes dream. The sun has reached its height. The light no longer falls, it hovers. It fills the air, seeps into the sand, and rises again, turning the entire desert into a sea of living fire. Every surface glows, every shadow contracts into thin, blue veins that trace the edges of form and distance. The heat builds not as violence, but as presence. It shimmers in the distance, folding the horizon into waves that never break. The world breathes light now. The air itself becomes visible, a slow, translucent tide that flows between sky and sand. A single gust of wind stirs the silence. It moves like a whisper, lifting fine grains into a golden veil. The dune faces ripple as if waking from a dream. Sand slides downward in small avalanches, soft streams that hiss quietly as they fall. Each motion is patient, each sound part of the vast rhythm of reshaping. The dunes are dancers in this light. They move in slow choreography, advancing, retreating, their curves rewritten by invisible hands. The wind sculpts with tenderness and certainty. Ridges sharpen, peaks shift, lines drawn and redrawn with every breath of air. To watch them is to see time made visible. The heat hums low against the earth, a vibration rather than a sound. It presses gently against the skin of the world. In it lives a profound stillness, the same stillness that holds the stars at night. Even motion feels slow here, a measured unfolding, a conversation between patience and eternity. Light takes on texture. It seems to thicken in the air, visible as rippling curtains that drift from dune to dune. Within it, color begins to shift. White deepens to gold, gold melts into amber. Amber cools to rose along the edges of shadow. Each shade dissolves into the next, as if the desert were painting itself, endlessly revising its art. The horizon breathes with mirage. A silver lake trembles in the distance, born of light and longing. Its edges waver, its reflection perfect yet unreachable. This is not illusion, but the memory of water, the sky remembering itself upon the ground. The desert speaks in reflection, telling stories through absence. Amid the vast stillness, life continues quietly. A small bird glides close to the sand, its wings catching heat and lift from the rising air. It leaves no mark, only a brief shadow that joins the wind. Farther off, a fox emerges from its den beneath a dune. It moves low and silent, its fur the same color as the world around it. Its paws touch the sand lightly, leaving prints so faint that the next breath of air will erase them. Even the insects seem part of the desert's slow music. Tiny beetles trace lines between shadows. A locust drifts from one patch of brittle grass to another, its wings shimmering like glass. Each movement is a small act of grace, a life lived perfectly within its scale. The light at midday is relentless, yet it does not burn. It reveals. Every detail stands clear and unapologetic. The ripple marks on the sand's crest, the way a grain catches fire before tumbling down a slope, the faint circular impression left by a beetle's paws. The desert hides nothing. It offers honesty in its purest form. The wind rises again. It sweeps through valleys and across ridges, shaping new lines, new patterns. The dunes answer with a low hum, the sound of countless grains sliding together, a secret choir of motion. The melody travels, changing pitch as it moves across shape and space. It is a music without beginning or end, a hymn to the art of transformation. Shadows stretch in response to the shifting sun. They draw long blue rivers across the gold, moving slowly, as if pulled by invisible tides. The air trembles above them, each shimmer a pulse of light meeting heat. To gaze across it is to see the earth breathing. High above, the sky deepens. Its blue grows darker near the zenith, fading to white near the horizon. It is vast, but never empty, a silent mirror to the desert's motion below. Birds vanish into that light, their wings folding into the color of distance. In their absence, the sky seems even larger, even more certain of its stillness. The dunes shift again, their faces bright on one side, dark and cool on the other. The contrast is exquisite, the meeting of warmth and rest, of brightness and shelter. Every curve holds both day and night at once. It is the geometry of balance, sculpted by wind and time. The air grows heavy with brightness. Each breath feels filled with radiance, as though light itself were being inhaled. It softens thought, invites stillness, asks nothing in return. Far across the desert plain, a caravan of heat and shadow moves slowly. Perhaps it is wind, perhaps a distant herd, perhaps only the shimmer of sunlight remembering movement. The mirage blurs form and meaning alike, reminding that not everything must be seen clearly to be understood. In the deep quiet of noon, sound fades again. Only the faint hiss of sand persists, a language of whispers, the voice of the desert itself. It is the sound of change made gentle, of motion too slow for the eye to follow. To listen is to feel the presence of something vast, endless, yet intimate. The desert is not empty. It is full of slow miracles. Each dune, each grain, Each shadow that moves and vanishes is part of a living system of grace. Here, simplicity becomes abundance. Here, stillness becomes story. As the sun leans past its peak, the light begins to change once more. It warms, then softens, its brilliance giving way to depth. The dunes, once white and sharp, turn bronze, then rose, then gold again. The day begins its long descent, and the heat that filled the world starts to lift from the ground. Like a departing breath, the wind gentles, the air cools slightly, and across the vast landscape of living silence, the shadows stretch long and deliberate, preparing the desert for its slow return to calm. The light softens as the sun leans toward the far edge of the world. It is not sudden. Dusk arrives like a hush that gathers itself, deliberate and kind. Colors melt into one another. Gold becomes warm amber. Amber cools into rose, and the very air seems painted with a thin veil of color. The dunes take on a gentle dignity, their crests outlined in a slow, forgiving light. Heat retreats as if in courtesy. The air grows a fraction cooler. The shimmering that once blurred the horizon thins and becomes a clarity of long distance. Shadows lengthen and deepen, turning from sharp indigo into soft violet pools. Where noon offered revelation, dusk offers contemplation. Every curve of sand now reads like a sentence composed in slow hand. The wind changes its voice. No longer the restless sculptor of midday, it becomes an older thing, a storyteller that speaks in low arcs. It moves with a measured sensitivity, skimming ridges and folding into hollows, carrying with it the marine memory of distant seas and the mineral hush of far rocks. When the breeze crosses the crests, the sand slips in slow ribbons, sighing as it rearranges the world once more. Light becomes tactile. It brushes the face like a warm palm, and the dunes answer with subtle shifts. Tiny avalanches at the lip of a ridge, a cascade of sparkling grains descending in ribbons that catch every tone of evening. Those little curtains of sand look like falling flame, but their sound is the softest hush, a gentle percussion on the body of the land. The eye relaxes, letting the vastness fold inward until the nearest ridge becomes a close companion. Mirages retreat with the heat, and in their leaving, the desert reveals hidden textures. Where earlier only ripples could be guessed, now the play of light and shadow uncovers delicate lines. The fine arabesque of wind on stone, the faint fossil of old water channels, the subtle lacework of crusted salt, where ephemeral pools once lay. The landscape appears to have been carved by invisible hands and then polished by patient footfalls of centuries. Birdsong in the distance becomes more confident. Small, unhurried calls thread through the air, answering one another across miles, a quiet chorus that marks the rhythm of life. A lark returns to a sheltered slope. A pair of sand grouse wheel low and precise, their feathers catching the last light like small sparks. Each feathered silhouette is a punctuation in the dusk, a reminder that motion does not stop with the sun, but merely changes register. Here and there, life awakens to soft labor. A desert fox slips from behind a dune, cautious and lithe, moving with a grace that belongs only to creatures of heat and hush. Its footprints press briefly into the sand, and then the wind effaces them as a sign of deliberate forgetting. A tortoise ambles toward the cooler ground, its heavy, patient steps leaving small moons in the sand. Each mark carries the history of slow journeys, the geometry of deliberate movement. The color of the sky becomes a study in restraint. Pale blue deepens to a washed indigo, then warms at the rim into a band of molten peach. Clouds, thin and high, gather a softness that reflects the day's last warmth back toward the earth. They are the sky's final courtesy, scattering light so that the desert may dress itself in evening's finest hues. As light cools, the dunes themselves seem to speak more clearly. Ridges become like the ribs of great gentle beasts. Valleys read as sleeping lungs. The wind sculpts small sculptures on their faces, tiny crescents that repeat in pattern, so that step by step, the whole plain composes a slow, repetitive song. Watching it is to learn how repetition becomes ritual, how small gestures, when multiplied, become the architecture of place. The soundscape shifts toward intimacy. The day's broad chorus narrows into soft, private sounds, the whisper of grain settling, the tremble of a twig in a sheltered shrub, the distant murmur of some passing life. Sound no longer broadcasts, it confides. Listening becomes an act of presence rather than of information. Pools of shadow deepen beneath rare bushes and small rocky outcrops. There, in the cool pockets, life gathers its evening resources. Insects hum with a gentle insistence. A beetle's polished back flashes like a tiny moon as it navigates the shadow line between heat and rest. Plants that closed in the day now open their fine surfaces to the cooling night air, breathing in the moisture that clings to the desert like a promise. Light plays subtle games with texture. The face of a dune, when stroked by slanting rays, reveals an infinite fineness. Minuscule ribs, each grain a bead in a long chain. Moving closer, the sand seems less like inert matter and more like a field of tiny moving lives, each grain a participant in an endless ceremony of assembly and disbanding. Mirage waters, once shimmering, now only whisper of themselves. Their memory becomes a gentle suggestion, a thin haze that rises and vanishes like a thought, leaving the mind. In that vanishing, the desert reveals another kind of richness, the capacity to hold absence as well as presence, to make vacancy itself feel like a container of something precious. A caravan of low clouds approaches from the distant west, thin as a ribbon. They do not promise storm, they only offer a softening of the sky, a mellowing that the land receives gratefully. Under them, the light becomes almost tactile, practical and kind, avoiding glare and favoring depth. Colors saturate without harshness. The blue of shaded sand grows deeper and more contemplative. The human trace is gentle and reverent here. A ruined wall, half buried in sand, hints at histories, shelters given and abandoned, hands that once shaped stone, now long gone. A single footpath winds between dunes, a careful line that suggests passage rather than ownership. These marks serve as memory rather than claim, reminders that the desert is tended by many small acts over long durations. As dusk nears its quiet climax, the air takes on a crystalline quality. Breath feels clean and precise, each inhalation a cool note. Awareness sharpens without effort, eye finding small treasures, a tilted shell, a curled blade of grass, the symmetrical lattice of a spider's web, hung and waiting for the night's first guests. Light finally contracts into a long final slide along the crests of dunes. It illuminates edge after edge in a careful procession until the last sunbeam seems to fold the world closed with a soft hand. This closing is not loss, but preparation. The desert gathers the day's warmth like a store, keeping it for slow release through the coming hours. In that final glow, the heart of the desert reveals its quiet instruction, to move not in haste, but in long patience, to build beauty through repetition, to hold space for both brilliance and rest. Dusk teaches that endings are not conclusions, but the pauses between sentences in a very long poem. The wind sighs once more across the sands, carrying with it the faint scent of distant rock and the sea's remembered breath. It is a scent of road and memory, of journeys that continue beyond sight. The dunes settle into their new shape, as if taking a formal posture, ready to receive whatever breath the next cycle may bring. And in this softened hour, the world breathes evenly, steady, untroubled, each grain of sand a tiny heartbeat in a vast, ancient body. Presence here is not achievement, it is allowance, an acceptance of smallness inside the infinite. This is the desert's last offering before the light gently leaves, an invitation to be quiet, to listen, and to learn the slow, patient songs written in sand and wind. The light fades, but the warmth remains. Across the dunes, the last breath of wind carries the memory of day, soft, golden, unending. The desert does not sleep. It listens. It breathes. It waits for the next dawn to begin the story again. If peace has found its place within this silence, let it stay. Let it move with the breath, slow, endless, real. Subscribe to Most Beautiful for more softly narrated journeys through light, wind, and time. Stories that don't demand to be watched, only felt. Because calm never ends. It flows, quietly, beautifully, beyond the horizon.